Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. The show is produced and broadcast from Portland, Oregon, USA. And for your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is we have decided to talk about. And the title of this show is Joe versus Portland Mayor Charlie Hales. And you'll learn more about that as we go into the show, why we titled that way. Lawn Vet Joe versus Portland Mayor Charlie Hales. And of course, along with Lawn Vet Joe is Roberto Lovato over here. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
And again, thank you for coming on. And you guys have been on the show a number of times before.
Yes.
Well, me and my viewers never get enough of you. It's been a little while.
It's been a while.
How you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm getting older.
Tell me about it.
I know. And but they keep telling me that any day now wisdom is coming. But I think they're lying. There doesn't seem to be a lot of wisdom. So I kind of look forward to that. I would like a light to come down and instill wisdom in me. You know, that's what they told me when I was young. You know, when you get older, you can have wisdom.
That was a long time ago, Joe.
Yes, I know.
Roberto, how are you right now? You nervous? Okay.
No, I'm doing fine. I'm, his sidekick, so we're in good company.
You belong to each other. You're a great team.
Well, I mostly support. So, but he's the true activist. So.
That's not true. We complement each other really well.
I think so.
Because our personalities are a little bit different. I'm much more in your face, and Roberto is more gentle. He has the qualities that I would like to have, but I think it's too late. I don't think it's going to happen. I keep saying I would like to be more gentle, but the world seems to be more vicious. And I think there's the environment that we're in it's really difficult. Roberto, we were talking just a little while ago, and he said about it's very difficult to be healthy in a sick world. Mm-hmm. Is that a good quote?
Yeah, that was basically what Krishnamurti said, that it was very difficult to be healthy in the world that we live in. It's a violent world, evidence every day. There's a lot of destruction going on. So
apparently, we're going to be talking about the presidential race and November election somewhere along the way.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, my understanding anyway, we have 300 to 350 million people in the United States, and we ended up with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. How sad is that?
And maybe we can figure out how that happened and do something to have a different outcome in the future. We're going to have, Roberto, you're going to run for the president in November.
Well, we need to run a whole bunch of people, starting with the school board, mm-hmm. and working our way all the way through city councils and into the legislature and into the governor's mansion and into the White House. We have to stop putting lawyers in office. We love lawyers. If you look at the Congress, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's really astronomical number of lawyers that we put into office. And why is that? They sound good. They sound good.
Are you denying Donald Trump the ability to file all these lawsuits continually through his whole life? He needs those lawyers. How come you're so against lawyers?
Well, I'm not against lawyers. I'm just saying, why do we put them into office? Why don't we have citizen representatives like you, like me, like Roberto, You know, doing like military service, you go in, you do your stuff, and you get out. You know, you don't stay in there for 40 years. You know, and that's what we've done. We've made these guys in Congress, especially, some of them that I really like, been there for 40 years. It's too long. You know?
I think I heard this conversation before. Wasn't that like Greece?
Yes.
Weren't those a concept in the Greek democracy?
Yeah, and you can't separate.
You had to
it.
serve in the government?
Yes, yes.
You can't-
And then get out and move on in your regular life.
Right. You go in, you serve a couple of terms. Maybe the first term you find out where the restrooms are. And your second term you actually do some work. You do some legislation and you know how it works. And then you get out.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is. Senator, 12 years. Congressman, maybe 4 years. Look, we have Blumenauer over and over and over and over again. Okay? And he got 60-70% of the vote. And everybody, you know, said, well, you know, he's doing a good job. Well, but that's excluding everybody else by having these politicians in forever. And what does that do? It creates this craziness that they are the elite. They're supposed to be the servants, you know? They're supposed to be like the gardeners. You know, when you go out to the garden, you say, I want roses over here because you own the place. In politics, it's the other way around. Why is that?
We're going to talk about that in the second half of the show. Let's tell our viewers a little about who you are because it's been a while since you've been on before. So let me ask you a few questions so people can have an idea where you're coming from. What's that you're wearing around your face?
I spent 9 years in the Navy, and I was an engineer. So I was down in the boiler rooms. So I was exposed to asbestos. But I also worked in Long Beach Naval Shipyard for a long time, and I was exposed to asbestos, and I smoked. And between those two things, I ruined my lungs. So I have very little lung capacity left. So I have to have the oxygen in order to survive. I can come off for a little bit, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And I really like doing that if I'm talking to someone, because if you can hear the popping sound, it's annoying. So it's can you hear that? Yeah, the popping sound. So it's distracting. So sometimes you'll see me take it out, and I really want to talk, you know, just for a little bit.
Just don't take it out for too long.
No, what happens is my oxygen level drops, and I can feel it. So I get a little bit dizzy and a little bit weak, and then I have to go back to the oxygen. So.
All right, so let's start with talking to, we take Roberto first. You ready, Roberto?
Shoot.
Yeah. If I were to ask your best friend, who is Roberto, what would your best friend say? Be your best friend. Roberto is what?
Well, I'm a little bit, I guess we were discussing this today. I'm a little bit Socratic, right?
Your best friend
And
would say,
a little bit Diogenistic, right?
Diogenes.
Because
Yeah.
we're searchers, we're seeking truth, justice, you know, equal rights. All of those concepts of, you know, truth. And so that, between John and I think that's our commonality, but it's carrying that through our lives, I think. And that's basically sticking to those principles through a lifetime.
So you're telling me what you're about, and I'm talking about what your best friend would say about you, or one of your best friends. If I say, what is Roberto? He would say, Roberto is. Pretend he's your best friend and he's talking.
Well, he's, I try to back up my friends, you know, support people.
Okay.
Try to be helpful. I try to be generous.
Are you kind?
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway.
I do get a little hot sometimes, but it doesn't explode. So, but I question a lot of stuff. So, if you're my friend, I try to take care of you.
Okay. That's enough of that.
Yeah.
And when and where were you born?
Well, I was born in Santa Barbara, California,
Santa
and it
Barbara.
was like October 13th, 1946.
Mm-hmm.
The baby boom.
Anything significant about your racial or cultural or national heritage worth mentioning?
Yeah, I'm a Latino, you know, involved with Chicano politics and stuff. I was a first generation of Latino students to graduate from UC Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because Big Brother, the government helped to get us money and through scholarships to go into the universities. But, you know, it was a lot of help from people.
What was your major?
My major was fine art.
Fine arts.
Yeah, but I learned a lot of stuff. I learned how to deal with the bureaucracy. I think was the major thing. So very helpful to me.
Yeah.
I was also part when I was attending UC there in Santa Barbara. There was a huge concentration of Latino people from all over the United States who wanted to instill Chicano studies into the UC system. So they had a conference there, and they came up with this thing called a Plan Day Santa Barbara, and it outlined all the needs, and there's a series of things that the people at this conference thought that UC would be able to offer Latino students. So that was basically the creation of Latino studies in the university systems across America, and it predated the Black Studies movement, which was close behind.
Uh-huh.
So that's why we have Chicano Studies today, is because that meeting was established with MECHA, the student organization, and famous people like Jorge Gonzalez, my friend Malaquias Montoya, an artist. Just it was very intense and concentrated, you know, in a couple of days, and this document was written up. So that's why the schools in the United States, the universities and colleges have Latino studies now.
So
that was 1969.
You've been an activist all your life?
Pretty much.
Uh-huh.
I was against the war, and I actually just was reading some of the stuff about, I didn't even know about the Latinos against the Vietnam War.
Uh-huh.
And so, because I've been reading back some of the history of this stuff, and it's pretty interesting to me to go back in time. But the connections of friends that I didn't even know were there. You know, I met this famous artist from Oakland, Malaquias Montoya, who's known internationally.
Uh-huh.
He was living in an apartment next to me on MacArthur Boulevard in front of the MacArthur Freeway. And I met him through the windows in between the apartments, and he was cleaning a silk screen. So I got to know him, and he, you know, it's just amazing, you know. And things come back. I have another friend who just came back from Mexico, I worked with at the United Farm Workers Office when it came to Santa Barbara. So we were university students and volunteering our time at the UFW. So, and most of these people are still alive.
Along with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a religious preference nowadays?
I have no religious affiliation. I'm pretty much an agnostic, but I do adhere to the principles of nature because we are part of nature, and
Yes.
that's my primary religious kind of thought.
Right. And you don't hold a job anymore, do you? Or do you?
Well, my job is going out with and taking care of my yard at home and growing vegetables and taking care of my wife.
We need a raise. We need a raise.
My wife works, so I take care of her.
All right. And you have have any children?
No, I never had kids.
Do
But
you have a pet?
I have two. We have two golden retrievers. They own us.
Yeah. How about your political persuasion? Are you left or right or what?
Well, I've been always alternative. In 1986, I ran for the State Board of Equalization in California through the Peace and Freedom Party.
Your leftist credentials, huh?
Yeah, I was endorsed by Dr. Benjamin Spock, and I got
man.
60,000 votes in a 400,000 vote race. So I was surprised. I went to sleep with 5,000 votes reporting in the LA Times in the morning. I woke up and it was 63,000 in the LA Times. So I was, whoa. But that was pretty good. But currently I'm affiliated with a progressive party, but I really think they should have stayed with the Peace Party name. So the party that fits my concept of the world now is going to be the Green Party.
Jill Stein.
Yes.
I'm going to vote for her in November.
Yeah.
So am I.
Because that's going to be an international global movement. There's a structure there.
Any memberships in political or social or civic organizations? I'm an ACLU member in the Southern Poverty Law Center. You belong to any of those things like that?
Well, the Lawyers Guild, I think, for me.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, because I got mad with the ACLU here in Oregon over joining the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
Yeah. Occasionally, they will make some decision, and I want to drop out, too.
Yes.
But I think about the Skokie thing, you know.
But I chose to support the Lawyers Guild because they do good work too.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Name one or two persons from the past or alive today that you look up to or admired. Any names come to mind?
Yes, I just lost a friend at UC Santa Barbara who's the first director of Black Studies there. His name was Professor Cedric Robinson. And he was a poli-sci person, instructor, teacher, is well known. He's connected with Cornell West. He is connected with a local professor, Poncho Savory here at Reed College, and Poncho told me that he was at the Stanford at the same time. So, and Cedric Robinson has written many books. He's been all over the place, and so he just passed recently, and it was one person that inspired me. Cornell West is again another person.
Yay!
But a non-living person is Shirley Chisholm. Because she was the first woman who really went for it.
Yeah?
But her own party turned her down. So...
They weren't ready for a woman of that degree of recognition.
No, she was way ahead of her time.
Yeah. All right, shall we leave you now and go to old lawn vet over here? You ready for me?
Yes, I am.
Now, we've talked about these things before, but it's been a long time, and there'll be some new viewers who haven't seen you before. And if I were to ask your best friend,
what would they say?
Yeah, what would they say? Lawn vet is what? Or Joe is what?
Pain in the ass with a sense of humor.
This is a family show, Joe. A pain in the butt.
Pain in the butt with a sense of humor.
Okay. I love that. And you are. And when and where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh.
And Bedford-Stuyvesant. So I grew up in a loaded block with kids everywhere. I mean, we had these tenement houses, and there were 6 families in each house, and there were 50 tenement houses on each side of the street. And each family had 3 kids. In our house alone, there'd be 18 kids. So no matter who was mad at you, you always had someone to play with. So it was the greatest time to grow up in New York in the 40s and 50s.
Did you meet Donald Trump when you were a kid?
No. Donald and I travel in different.
I know, I'm trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
All right. Religious preference. Do you have one of those anymore?
Well, I studied to be a priest,
Me
a
too.
Catholic priest.
Me too.
I spent 2 years, and my background is Irish Catholic. However, like Roberto, I'm curious of what happens after this life. And I love Matthew in the Bible. I love the Sermon on the Mount. So there's parts of religions that I really like. And but I don't exclude. So I don't say this religion's got it and this one doesn't. I like taking pieces of the ones that make sense to me.
Sure.
So if you say to me, treat someone with dignity, that's religion to me.
Okay.
You know, so it's not Catholic, it's not Protestant, it's not Islamic, it just is. So it's religion. So, and I'm getting very close to finding out what happens. So I'm curious. You know?
You're going to forgive Charlie Hales before it's all over?
I don't know Charlie Hales. I know what he does. I know what he does as a mayor. So when I go after Charlie Hales, I go after what he does, not as a human being. Unfortunately, the confrontations have to be with one human being to another. However, what I criticize with Charlie Hales is what he does or doesn't do.
The mayor of Portland.
Yes, he represents us. So I want him to do his job. You know?
All right.
I mean, he's very unimportant in my life outside of that. And I'm very unimportant to him outside of the confrontations. But the confrontations have to happen because we're in trouble. We're in serious trouble.
And we're going to talk about that in the second half of the show. And your formal education.
I have a degree in psychology with a minor in social work. Went to nuclear engineering school in the Navy. So, yeah. I like using, psychology to try to understand, why people do things that they do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very easy and sometimes it's very hard. And in politics, it's very hard.
Yeah. Why do you do the things you do?
Well, if you're talking about activism, and that's what I do
Whatever comes to
mostly,
mind.
I do it because I have grandchildren and children. I don't do it for me. I mean, the changes that I demand from politicians, I'm not going to see, but they will. If the changes happen, my daughters and my son and my grandchildren will see the changes. So I am really worried about the next generation coming up.
Yeah.
All right? That they're not going to be associated with what you and I were. I had a great life. I mean, I went around the world with the Navy and I talked to really interesting people like Roberto here. And I meet a lot of interesting people. So my life has been wonderful. But I worry about the next generation coming up.
So do I, yes. And we'll be talking about that later on. Let me continue on. And you don't work anymore, do you?
No, I'm a retired civil servant from the federal government. Yes.
And you have a partner, a wife?
I have a wife who is also my partner and best friend. And she's really cool. And she keeps my feet on the ground. Because she'll say to me, "Shut up." Shut up. It's really cool.
And you listen to it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How about children, grandchildren? You mentioned those a moment ago.
Yeah, I have one son, and then I have a stepdaughter and a stepson by Patty. She had a previous marriage. So we have those, and then I have 3 grandchildren.
What do they call you? The grandchildren.
They call me Grandpa. But they're getting older now, and one's a teenager, and one is well, he's 19. So she's transgender. So he's 19. Delightful. B is absolutely delightful human being, and Holly, who is my other step granddaughter, is amazing how bright she is. She gets straight A's and everything. I mean, she just wipes it out. I mean, I didn't come into my own until I was in college. I mean, high school was just a wipeout for me. I was on a swimming team, and I could do anything I wanted and get away with it and not do homework and all that stuff. But she is just, I mean, she is really bright. She's going to be a powerhouse, and she's delightful to talk to.
I'll bet. And you, I didn't ask you this. Are you a left, right, or center in your politics? Are you a
very left.
Tree hugger, of course?
Yeah, traditionally very left.
Memberships in political, social, or civic organizations.
I'm a member of Vietnam Veterans Against War.
Yes, so am I.
A supporter of Veterans for Peace. I'm not a member because I'm a little bit too radical for them. So, I keep my distance, but I support them. I really love them. A big supporter of Code Pink. I really like those ladies.
Petra Kelly.
Yes. And what other organizations? Well, I'm still in the Progressive Party. So I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. So I'm enjoying the conventions.
And November, you're going to vote for Jill Stein and during the
Jill
Green Party?
Stein, most likely. I think she comes closest to what I believe in.
Yeah.
She's very anti-war, and she likes the $15 an hour raise and all that stuff.
Persons from the past or alive today that you admire or look up to, any names come to mind?
Yes.
Roberto. Yeah.
Also, I think, and I'm not copping out on this, I really admire my wife. Because she's very apolitical. She's not into this at all. But she does a lot of my proofreading for me, and she helps me out, stuff like that. But she's got a center that's really kind of interesting, that I miss, because I'm really out there. When I get angry, I got really angry. Not violent, but mouthy. And I would really like to learn to be a little more gentle. And she's pretty gentle. So I admire her a lot. And also Paine from the Founding Fathers. Thomas Paine is absolutely amazing to me when you read about his life and what he did and what happened to him. They haven't found his bones yet. That's another story. Haven't found his bones yet.
We better stop and take a break, Mr. Director, okay? And then we'll come back and talk about Joe versus Portland Mayor Charlie Hales and other things. Okay? And thanks for staying tuned and don't run away. And for you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and about whatever it is we've decided to talk about tonight. And we're going to eventually talk about Lone Vet Joe versus Mayor Charlie Hales versus. So there's a reason for that choice of a title here. But we're going to also talk about stuff that our other guest is about. And let's get started, okay? How about somebody talking briefly about Portland's government? What's it about? There's a mayor and what else?
Okay, what you have is a mayor, and then you have 4 sitting council people that do not represent districts. So it's a very strange setup that they have here, and the mayor has almost no power outside of the city council once he appoints the different bureaus. So if he says to Commissioner Fish, you take care of housing, now he can pull that back anytime he wants. So that's a big threat hanging over the commissioners. So he's got that kind of influence. But he's just one vote. So there's 5 of them. Takes 3 votes to do anything. And the mayor can't enact ordinances by himself, where in a lot of other cities he can, or she can. So our form of government in Portland is really strange, and people have tried to change it a number of times to make it more connected to the citizens, where you would have districts. So like maybe Commissioner Fish would be my representative, like we have on the county. Commissioner Shipwreck is my representative in my district where I live. We don't have that in city council, so it's very strange.
It sounds strange.
Yeah. And I think that it's detrimental to the whole concept of a republic.
But we also have a city charter, because it's a charter city, and that's the founding document which they use is similar to the U.S. Constitution. So that guides how the city is operated.
Guides the city. One of the big battles that the mayor and I have is he doesn't follow the charter. He just does anything he wants at these meetings. Just does anything he wants.
Doesn't anybody challenge him?
Yes, I challenge him a lot, but I get thrown out a lot. You know, and one time there was a big uproar about an issue in the charter, and I was maintaining the charter dictates he's got to do certain things in order, and he wouldn't do them. And we got into this battle, and that's when I was excluded for 60 days from the council.
Barred?
Barred. I took him into federal court and got a permanent injunction against the mayor. And he had to drop all of his code of conduct because they were all unconstitutional by the order of the judge. And I did it pro se. I went in on my own against 2 sitting attorneys and won and beat them. And the judge ordered, you can't do this. You can throw him out for bad behavior, and we never argued that they couldn't do that. So if I have bad behavior here, you can throw me out. But you can't say to me, if you're the mayor, you cannot come back and exercise your right to petition Congress or a local government, because the First Amendment says I have the right to do that.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, but also the last line in the First Amendment says I have a right to petition Congress, or I have a right to petition the government, which includes the city council.
What prompted you to go to the federal government?
Because I didn't trust the circuit courts. The appeal normally would go through the circuit courts.
Yeah.
So I went to the federal courts and I said, I want three things. I want you to waive all the fees because they're expensive. I want you to let me do it pro se. And I want you to answer one question. Does he have the power to do this? And that was it. 26 pages. Judge Michael Simon wrote on that. And it is a precedent-setting case because there is no other cases on exclusion. This is the only case throughout the whole nation. So Charlie Hales, by his obstinance and arrogance, made me a hero.
Is he chastised?
Yes.
Does he act like?
26 pages of it.
So does he behave differently since this
No.
ruling?
He's figured out another way. What he's doing now is arresting the activists. He's not even throwing them out. He's arresting them. So now we're going to have another case, and I filed another motion with Judge Simon saying he's in contempt of your order. He's backdooring your order by arresting all of these activists that go to City Hall.
How many activists have been arrested so far?
About 9.
9. So this sounds
Four-
like a constitutional
4 in one
issue.
sweep. And I did not expect to get arrested. I've been doing this for 50 years. And I did not expect to get arrested. I was taken totally by surprise.
Wow.
Because what they did was that one of the activists was arguing something, and Charlie got annoyed and said, sit down and shut up. And he wouldn't do it. He kept arguing. And he said, okay, we're going into recess. And he went into recess. And then he said, I want everybody out of the chambers. Apparently he said that to somebody, one of the security people, because the security people came and they said, you have to leave the chambers. And I said, no, I don't. Because I have all this oxygen, all this gear. And if you're going to say to me, I have to leave and go outside in the vestibule and get all this stuff, that's a real pain in the neck to move everything. So I said, I'll just sit here and wait for Charlie to come back. They arrested us. But they arrested us outside of City Hall. They didn't even arrest us inside City Hall.
Weren't you supposed to be
So we
arrested
left.
at the place where the
Yes,
offense
we left
occurred?
on our own by their dictates. Took us a little longer. But under ADA, it's called reasonable accommodation.
Yes.
They had to give me a little time to go. Everybody else kind of went out. So we sat there for a while and we talked. And they got really mad. So they called the cops. And what we found out was they set a trap on the 29th. One of the officers, when he did his report, said, we expected it, so we were waiting for them to do something. They set a trap.
To get you to shut up.
No, just if we looked sideways, they were going to arrest us. They set out to arrest us, and they were looking for a reason.
Why would they do that? Arrest you?
Because we challenged the mayor a lot. We testify on issues that we think are important, like the homeless question. What are you doing with these sweeps, Mayor? There are 500 people on a corridor right now that are being moved out by August 1st. 500 he's moving. And to where? Nobody knows.
The Springwater Corridor?
Springwater Corridor. Because the people that live around there complained. So instead of everybody getting together and saying, how do we resolve this? They're just moving these 500 people. They're stealing all their stuff. Blankets, bedrolls, medication.
The authorities are taking all
They're
this.
throwing it into the trunk.
Now-
They're throwing it into the dumpster. They're saying, well, it's trash.
Springwater Corridor, that's one of the beautiful drives and,
Yes.
and trails that citizens of this area can, because there's also a bicycle trail there.
Yes, there is.
And my wife and I go there from time to time. We go as far as Selwood. And it's a beautiful drive right next to the river.
But instead of sitting down and saying, okay, we have this problem, we have the neighbors getting really upset because they're trashing it. We have 500 human beings that are camping out and they just want a safe place. to sleep. So how do we resolve all this stuff? The easiest way is to clear it out and push them down the line. And that's what they're doing. They're pushing them down the line. Charlie Hales has pushed most of the homeless on the east side because he doesn't want them being seen on the west side. He wants them on the east side. And if you drive around, you will see all these camps on the east side, very few on the west side.
Yeah.
And he's doing that on purpose. And that should cause him to be really judged harshly. And I do. I judge him harshly.
So, go ahead, Roberto.
Plus, you want to hear another piece of insanity from the system we live in?
Please. Okay.
He has all these health issues, and it's obvious, right? Well, he's being arrested, right? He needs to use the facility, the bathroom. The police officers know. Now, this is a man with health problems.
This is a great story.
And they say you can't go there because you'll be rearrested and all this stuff and things. And Joe says, I just want to use the bathroom. You tell him the rest of the story.
When we came out of City Hall, okay, I have Crohn's disease. All right, so I have a card that says I can use any restroom in Portland. I can go into any establishment and give them the card, and they should let me use the restroom.
Yeah, even if it's a public facility.
That's right.
A private facility.
Well, when we came out of City Hall and we were told we were under arrest, I looked at the sergeant and I said, okay, we got a problem here. I said, I have to use the restroom. So I showed him my card. And he said, you know, we're not gonna let you use the restroom. So I said, what are you talking about? I said, the restroom's right there. He says, you can't go back into the City Hall. I said, yes, I can. The only place I've been excluded is from the chambers, which is on the second floor.
Sure.
Restroom's on the first floor. I can go there. He said, no, you can't. So I said, okay. So I said, if I move, it gets very dangerous, okay? And without going into all the details, I think you understand what I'm talking about. So he said, well, do you want medical help? So I said, well, get me in the restroom? So he said, I don't know. So I said, if it gets me in the restroom, call medical help. So they called an ambulance. And the ambulance shows up.
Because you want to go to the restroom.
That's right. Oh, it gets weird. It gets weird. I said to the paramedics, I need to use the restroom, show them my card. So he said, all right, let me go talk to the sergeant. So they went to talk to the sergeant and came back. He ain't budging. So I said, what? So the ambulance guy says, well, what do you want to do? So I said, okay, I need to use the restroom. That's all I want. So they said, you want to go to the hospital? So I said, sure, take me to the hospital if I can use their restroom. So he said, yeah, you can use the restroom at the hospital. So I said, okay. So we went in, we got in the ambulance, we went up to OHU. And now I go into ER, and the doctors and the nurses.
The emergency room?
Yeah, they take one look at me with the oxygen, and they say, well, what's the problem? I said, I just want to use the restroom. They said, okay. I go into the restroom, all right? And without going into a whole bunch of details, I didn't make it. But in my, not this one, but sometimes I have a wheel. I have a complete change of underwear and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I have to change all my underwear and stuff like that. That's all I wanted to do, use the restroom. So I come out, I'm all cleaned up, I'm feeling good. I come out, doctor says, how you feeling? So I said, pretty good. So they said, okay, we're gonna do some, we're gonna run some tests on you because you look a little pink and stuff. And my oxygen level was down in the 80s, which is not good. So they kept me there for a while, and they boosted it up. Usually I'm on 2 liters, they boosted it up to 4. They took some blood tests, and they said, all right, you have to rest here for a while and stuff like that. After that, they took me to jail.
Jail?
Jail. I thought they were gonna write a citation, all right? Because they took the other people to jail. But the instructions were to take me to jail. So I get to jail, and because I'm on oxygen, they said, well, we got to put you in isolation because someone can grab your oxygen bottle and use it as a weapon. So I said, okay. So he put me in isolation, and I stayed in there for 6 hours. I call it the $1 million crap. Because when the bill comes for all of this stuff, there's going to be a huge battle over this, because I just kept saying to everybody, I want to use the restroom, that's all.
So it's still up in the air over who's going to pay for all of
That's
this.
right. I'm going to send the bill to the cops. Because I was 20 feet away from the restroom. The cop was wrong because I wasn't barred from the whole building. Because in Judge Simon's decision, he said, you can't do that. You can bar him from the chambers, but you can't bar him from going to see the auditor. You can't bar him from going to see neighborhood, what do they call that, neighborhood association, or, or taking care of some kind of business in the building, because that has nothing to do with you. All right, so you can't bar him from the building. You can bar him from the chambers.
When is this going to be heard, and will there be a decision on this?
Well, I have to go back to court on the 5th on the criminal charges. Criminal charges are trespassing and disorderly conduct.
Because you stayed in the chambers.
Because we stayed in the chambers and we didn't move fast enough. I mean, we left the chambers on our own. We went out, we were in the hallways for another maybe 20 minutes, and then we went down, and then that's when they busted us. I was really taken by surprise on this one. And I'm sure that we're going to win.
No wonder Charlie Hales loves you.
Well, I can understand him being angry. I just don't agree with it. Because he takes it very personally. I don't. I take what he does. I don't know. He may be the greatest guy in the whole world. So what? He's the mayor, and we have 2,000 people on the street. And when I started fighting about the homeless, we had 2,000 people on the street. And that's 3 mayors ago. Goes all the way back to Potter.
Are you attempting lone vet? That's why you call yourself a lone vet, because sometimes you're alone in fighting for these issues.
Yes, sometimes I'm on the bridge all by myself. Sometimes there's 50 people there.
Don't you get tired hanging out with this troublemaker?
Not really.
No,
it's exciting and
That's a great compliment.
It's exciting and challenging. But it's also his challenge to our so-called democracy for representation of the people to have a voice. And so many people are occupied with their families, working, they can never get there. One of my whole gripes on this whole system is they need a whole city hall, the meetings to the public in the evenings, several, maybe once or twice a month, so people can get there, because I've seen people at night meetings, several hundred will show up because they can get there. But in the day, they have no representation.
How can the system be changed to accommodate
Well,
people?
it could be done by changing the charter, which is also but it's a very heavy process, and it's a political process, because you can write up an initiative to get the people to vote it to change the charter. But they don't make it very easy.
No, we monitor City Hall on Wednesday, and then we go to the county on Thursday. They hold their meetings on Thursday. So the difference is, if you ever get a chance, just go to one and then the next day go to the other, because the difference is amazing.
How's that?
Because the commissioners on the county, all right, and I've been monitoring them also for years, all right, they try. They don't always succeed. They're not always right, but we don't demand that. They try. All right, every one of them. The chairperson, Gafori, tries. Okay, Shipwreck, who I think her and I philosophically are probably on opposite ends, but she tries. That's all we ask. Just go in and try. You never get that feeling at City Hall. You get the feeling at City Hall, shut up, sit down, be nice.
Why is that? Why is there such a difference in those
Because
two?
of Charlie Hales. Sam Adams was tough, all right?
The previous mayor.
The previous mayor and the mayor before him was tough. He was an ex-policeman. But they tried also, all right? Charlie Hales is in there to do the bidding of the developers, and he's done the job. He's coming out, and he doesn't give a damn about anybody except him. He's like Trump. I call him Trumpy because he's just like Trump.
So he's in the pockets of the developers?
He's not in the pockets of the developers, but he's on their side.
On their side.
Every major issue that comes up, when he talks about I'm gonna resolve this issue on homelessness, he takes the position of the business alliance. He takes the position of the developers. He never takes the position of that person who just wants some place to sleep. That's what they want. They want to sleep someplace. And they keep losing their stuff. The cops keep stealing their stuff. I mean, how low can you go to steal stuff from a homeless person? You know?
You're talking about an immense problem. What are we going to do? There's homelessness problems all over the country in metropolitan areas. How about, why is it nothing can be done about what's going on here in Portland?
You want an answer. You're always asking us for answers, okay?
Yeah.
Today we were having a discussion. Joe has been bumping his head against this wall of the administration here.
Sure.
We see the only way of single issue groups uniting into a larger group to politically change those people up there, because that's the only way that we see with our knowledge of what is going on to change these things, because those people make the decisions that affect actions by police, utilities, lead in the water, homelessness, how they deal with the issue, mental health, all those issues. 5 people decide the policies. And the only way to change that is for a united front to go to the polls and change those people to people that have sense and can offer solutions.
How do we get this kind of effort to counter the behavior of the present government, the present system?
Everybody needs to step back. Joe Hale needs to step back. Joe Walsh needs to step back
Okay.
and ask this question: what am I doing wrong? Not what Charlie's doing wrong. Not what Joe is doing wrong. What am I doing? Look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? Because I cannot believe, my entire essence will not accept the fact that people will let people die on the streets. I can't put it in my brain. So then the question is, what am I doing wrong that I cannot get this mayor to understand, look, this is not rocket science. Salt Lake City, 91% of their homeless is off the streets. It's a conservative city. So how did they do it? They did it, they said $12,000 to put them in an apartment, $16,000 to keep them on the street. Duh. That's what they did in Salt Lake City. They said, put them in the apartments. Get them the help that they need. And it's very different. The homeless have multiple problems that they're going through.
So something can be done.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's being
If you
done.
have the will, it's being done.
This is not rocket science. This is the will to do it. And for whatever reason, these 5 people on our city council do lip service, and that's it. And I always say, don't believe what politicians say, watch what they do. And they do nothing. They just eat up the money. And they just turned it over to the county. And the county created a new group of people that get a lot of money.
We're going to have to stop talking about this right now because there's no solution in sight for the moment unless we have some sort of an ombudsman or somebody who's neutral, who has some power to make these people behave more reasonably so that we can do something in this city like they did in the Salt Lake City.
True, Salt Lake City. There's a number of other cities that have done it also.
All right. So before we stop, I want you to say something to the viewers out there that you have 30 seconds or so. Look in that camera and tell the viewers what you want to tell them about anything at all.
We need to treat each other better. It's really so simple. I mean, if you treat all human beings the way you want to be treated, and you fight for their dignity, and you fight for their health, you cannot walk around anymore being outside the question. And the question is, where are we going and what are we going to do? And we are in serious trouble, and you have to get active. I'm getting tired. I would like to go fishing.
Okay, we need to stop there. Roberto, look in the camera and tell the viewers what you want to tell them.
I pretty much feel the same way as Joe, but my key word is community. Where you live, the way you treat your neighbors and your neighbors treat you, you focus on the well-being of your neighborhood, do what you need to do, and become a united, caring group to find out how you can deal with these problems and stuff. Because the more of you there are, the more the politicians will listen and the possibility change. And like I said, use the institution of the vote to get these people out of there. But you have to be organized.
Okay, we have to stop now because they're going to yell at me anyhow. PSAs,
right.
public service announcements. Thanks
It was
again for
delightful.
coming. Oh, you guys are delightful, though. Remember KFC. Thanks for watching. Not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind, and be friendly, and be charitable to you too, and you too, and you too in the control room. Good night. See you next time.
All right.
All right. Good night.